Hi, I'm David Norris and I'm serving up the perfect podcast, Pompey Platter with Russ, Daz and Haz. Play up, Pompey.
He used to be a waiter, did David Norris. Well, he's served up the perfect cocktail here.
It back to goal, Lang. Needs a bit of help. Goodness from Lang. What can he do? Still there, Lang. Lang! You wouldn't believe it! Cross comes into the near post. Headers into the net! Shot the team! Surely Pompey are heading for the championship! Portsmouth are promoted as League One champions.
Welcome everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us on Pompey Patter podcast. This is episode 10. Pompey lack the cutting edge, as it seems to becoming a more and more frequent phrase we find ourselves using. Tonight, as always, I'm joined by Russ and Daz. Good evening, gents. How are we?
Good evening. Yeah, all good.
Evening.
Yeah.
All good, yeah.
Are we prepared to sit here and be depressed for another hour after watching the Pompey game on Tuesday?
Be depressed all week. Another hour won't hurt.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have some decent little chat, I reckon. Got a lot of things to talk about, I think.
Right, so just a little bit of the running order for the people listening. When you listen on the podcast later on the platforms, we're going to kick off with a review of Hull City, then the review of Plymouth Argyle, then we are going to have a little chat of where does the blame lie on the season so far. Then we're going to have Harry's Who Am I? And then we'll go into a bit of any other business. As I didn't watch the game live, obviously I've watched the highlights of the whole game.
You've become Daz, mate.
I have become Daz.
Amateur.
How dare people have a 90th birthday? How dare they?
Exactly. I didn't realise you were that old.
Oh, I feel it. Trust me, sometimes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Let's go, Daz. Do you want to kick us off? Because from when I watched the highlights, it kind of seemed another game of two halves, which is becoming quite similar and familiar with us Pompey fans.
Yeah, literally on my notes, the very top point is a game of two halves. First half, really, if they hadn't scored, it wouldn't have been a bad first half. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we did a great deal. But, I mean, when you're playing away from home in the Championship, you want to kind of at least get to half-time in touch or maybe draw in, like a 0-0 kind of thing, be perfect. I mean, we said that about the Plymouth game come up, didn't we? Get to 0-0 and at half-time, and I think we'll really push on. I think it was glaringly obvious probably after the first 10 minutes that Hull City were only going to play one way. And I don't think we did enough in that first half to maybe think, because some teams will look to play it up from the back. We've done it in the past where we look to play it back, we can't do it, we'll go a bit longer. They were always going to play it from the back. That was their MO for the game on Saturday, and they were going to constantly do it no matter how bad or how hard they got pressed. So obviously I know we changed it in the second half, but I would have liked to see a little bit more. I think I put on our group about Yengi. I was like, is it just me or is he being a bit lazy? I think if we'd have had maybe some faster legs in the first half up top to really press, you never know, we might have got a goal in the first half. Their goal, like with most of the goals we concede, absolutely infuriates me because it's down to us. It's not down to them opening us up. And I mean, the finish was quality finish, but I don't think it should have got that far in the first place. The fact that how far they had to switch the ball from, I think it was from their centre back just outside the centre circle, and he pings it out wide. For us to not get to that ball, mainly Ogilvy, to not get to that ball and put the ball under enough pressure and allow that winger to get a decent ball in, which turned out into a decent finish as well, is criminal. Like we saw it a bit later on in the game where Devlin had a kind of another similar scenario, but he got straight at their winger. So yeah, I mean it's really poor from Ogilvy, just too slow getting out to the ball. I think I tell in the group again, like you don't even have to stop the cross. You just have to stop a good cross. You just have to, like, you can get a foot on it and put out for a corner, or if you can take a deflection, the keeper might come out and collect it and that sort of stuff. But he didn't really do anything. Even when he went out to him, he didn't show him enough. Like, he gave him too much room to pick a ball out. I think Paul switched off a little bit as well. I saw the replay, and you see that the ball goes out wide. Paul gets into position, sees their striker, and then for a split second, just before the ball comes in, you see the striker just do one little movement, and I think Paul gets caught out, and you can see that as he stretches for the ball. But it's a great finish, and I think we did all right after that. I don't think we pulled up any trees, but we didn't capitulate like we have in certain games. Second half, like total other end of the spectrum, wasn't it? Like, we got an early goal from my boy Josh Murphy, and as I said on the last podcast, I'll take him out, and if that means he scores, in fair play. But I think what was the pinnacle of that movement obviously was Lang on the byline, sort of taking the ball down, keeping it on. I thought it was off to start with, and then tucking it between Matey's legs, and then the ball in wasn't great, but it just shows if you can get the ball in nice and early, like in that little area, it can cause confusion. And obviously that allowed Murphy to score. Wasn't the cleanest of hits, but I mean, we'll take them all every day. And then after that, I think it was only one team in it. Like, you could tell the whole fans were getting on the back of their players. We kept pressing. They kept playing the same way. And we should have. Messina said we should have had 2 penalties. I can't remember what he was talking about, the first one. But the trip on Yengi is 100% a penalty. No idea how he's not given that. If he's not given a penalty, he's got to give Yengi a bookie in my eyes, if that's what he thinks. But yeah, 100% a penalty in my eyes. And then obviously we had a real good chance right at the end to nick it. So for me, it does feel like 2 points dropped. The first half, I thought if we can get a draw out of this, it'll be good. But coming away after the game, it does feel like 2 points dropped. And I think an ongoing thing for us, not just in this game, but obviously Plymouth and games before, is that cutting edge. But yeah, for me, 2 points dropped.
And the cutting edge is kind of what also did us going forward. Russ was Hull. You know, they hadn't had too many chances before they scored that first goal, and they seemed to target. Their main man seemed to be Bellumi down that right hand side, and they seemed to be targeting Ogilvy quite a bit.
Yeah, well, can you blame him? I would be targeting Ogilvy. I'm going to just say he's just not good enough for the Championship. As simple as that. How on earth he let that cross go in? I get your point about Paul, but that ball should be going anywhere near Paul. That ball shouldn't be going anywhere near the striker. Even goes past McIntyre. But McIntyre ain't got rid of the ball.
I will stick up for Ogilvy here, though. Because
how can you stick up for him? I'm going to have to unmute.
No, hang on. Just hang on. If you watch how it builds up, right, it looks like a kind of ball forward, and McIntyre follows João Pedro right across to almost in front of the dugout. So Ogilvy tucks in to become the other centre half, because McIntyre's gone walkabouts. It's then worked its way back to, I think it was Hughes that pinged it across to Bellumi. And then Ogilvy has got, he has Bellumi on one side, and he has Slater, the right back, coming in on the middle. So he's left with 2 players. So he's got to, does he stay tucked in, or does he go out wide? So he either leaves us big space on the wing, or he leaves space in the centre of the park. And I think he has to choose which is worse.
He only had to be a yard forward. That is it.
No, because it was
a yard forward. He blocks the cross.
Yeah, but by the time he's realised that that's where it's going, and McIntyre's eventually come in, and in the time that it's taken for McIntyre to get back and him to get out, it's too late. But why is McIntyre going walkabouts? So
McIntyre pisses me off. Ogilvy pisses me off. That whole left side, defensively, is a massive concern.
Yeah,
McIntyre's not good enough. Ogilvy's not good enough.
So I'm not saying
and Murphy's defensive work is not good enough.
I'm not saying that Ogilvy gets a free pass, because from him closing down to that cross and then letting that ball come in is on him. But the original part where Bellumi has literally got 20 yards radius around him, that's because Ogilvy has had to do something else because of someone else's mistake.
Of course. But like I put on Twitter after that when I said that I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of him. If he could go in January, I wouldn't give a shit, right? And people are like, oh, you can't just moan about him about that goal. When it's like, yeah, but I'm not moaning about just that goal. How many goals this season have come down his side and he's been too slow to react, too slow to keep up? He got torn apart by Derby last season, Barnsley last season. I can remember thinking he's going to get... Because pretty much every single team in the Championship has pacey wingers. He can't do it. He can't. If you're going to keep him, he goes centre-back for me.
So what's your option then? Because currently he's the only left
at the moment, we got no choice. We got no choice. But my option would be
you can
in January,
change formation.
Either get a new left back in, and stick him left back, or get a new left back in anyway, and stick him, get rid of him. I still don't understand why we ever got rid of Sparks. That really baffled me. And I'm just saying that now. I never understood why we got rid of him.
Business. Good business. You sign him on a free. He's young. You sell him on for a fee, for a low six-figure fee within a year.
It must be the first time in 7 years we've had a bit of good business like that.
How many times have we got players left and we've never got a fee? So it's actually a chance that we actually took.
But did it really benefit us?
The thing is, with Sparks going, I think one of the main worries about him last season, going forward, he was probably one of the best in the league. His delivery is unbelievable. But what's quite funny is that people worried about Sparks defensively, and for Ogilvy was the better option defensively. That's what the feeling I got from everyone, and I did agree. But it kind of looks like now maybe Sparks could have been given an opportunity, and he might have been not bad defensively, and he seems a bit more mobile than Ogilvy as well.
But I never understood the Sparks debate with the defensive side because he kept that I've forgotten his name now, the Peterborough right winger, who at the time was probably one of the most informed wingers, in his pocket.
Mason Clark or Poku?
Poku. It was Poku because Clark was on the other side, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He kept him in his pocket. The guy did nothing all game. The two times people point at was like Blackpool and Leyton Orient, I believe, if I remember rightly. But again,
I think Lincoln as well was was an issue.
Everyone, everyone was poor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's like I keep having this argument with people with Paul. Like, I'm like, I'm not sticking up for the guy. He's done some really bad decisions. I mentioned it in the pod a couple of weeks ago. I don't think he can judge a ball well in the air. And I also think he needs Shotnessy next to him. Sometimes some defenders they need that partnership. We were worried when Paul got injured last season. That was our season over. Quite clearly, Shotnessy was the man. We got that the wrong way round, in my opinion, and it's showing now.
Yeah, but when you signed someone who was Lincoln's team player of the season, and he was did they get playoffs that season, or they were close to it, weren't they?
Yeah.
Versus Burton Albion's fourth choice centre half. No. You're gonna look at that, and we did get it wrong, and maybe Shotnessy was riding a crest of a wave as well. It just managed to hit that form. Obviously, we hope that he comes back sooner rather than later. Because
I just think they need that partnership, because I'm a big believer in he can't defend on his own. He's got McIntyre next to him. I'd rather have Towler at the moment. You got Ogilvy then next to him, not good enough. Got how many different right backs we've had lately? We've had Devlin play there lately. Do you know what I mean? And then you got the change in goalkeeper. He hasn't played in 10 months. He's only recently come back. He's had no pre-season. For me, he gets a massive buy at the moment because, he's made some mistakes, but he's also saved our asses enough times with McIntyre.
Surely McIntyre should get some kind of pass as well, considering he was out for 7 months.
Oh yeah, of course. But then the difference is Paul has shown me enough that he's good enough when McIntyre hasn't. That's the only difference.
McIntyre's ability on the ball is championship worthy and of a championship standard.
The defensive side of it, which is surely more important, is not.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm trying to say is he does have, like, look, he played 150 times for like Reading in the championship, right? So he clearly has that ability. Whether it's confidence or I'm not entirely sure, but he needs to try and work it out, because we'll come on to it later. But that Plymouth goal was just a complete mess. But we'll come on to that later.
Just a quick one. I think you need Paul or McIntyre with Shaughnessy, because I don't think either McIntyre or Paul are the best defenders in the air. And I think you need an aerially dominant centre back to play alongside them.
Yeah, and that's the other.
If you look at Paul, he's quite short for a centre back. Like, as in he's a big boy, and I wouldn't want to ever play against him. But height wise, he's not like the normal. I mean, look at like when we played West Brom at home, for example. Their two centre backs, Carl Bartley and the other guy, fucking massive, ginormous. Like, so I think if you're gonna, you need Shaughnessy, or dare I say it, even if we'd have kept hold of Raggett, someone like that next to him, where they're dominant in the air, can just win balls, and then you allow McIntyre or Regan Paul ones to sort of maybe step off a bit and maybe do a bit more of the covering.
McIntyre for me is like the issue with our team is we're still trying to play how we did last season when we need to dogfight, and we've been dogfighting a bit more against Hull, and we certainly, done our best fighting the other night. It just, again, we'll talk about it later, but it was just getting in the net was the issue. But for me, like, as soon as Shotnessy's ready, he's got to come back. It's him with Paul. I want to see Swanson next to him, and I want to see Farrell. I think you get that back four, I think the defence is sorted. My main issue is the attack. You can concede 1 or 2 a game, but if you can't put that ball in the net, like, we should have beaten Hull. Well, I watched quite a few people on the Hull end do like their vlogs and that, like 4-0 written all over it. They were fuming after the game. They said they were lucky to get a draw.
Well,
and they were.
And it was that. Well, that's why it was such a game of two halves, right? Because the first half, or certainly the first kind of half an hour, they got down and scored that goal. They then got through again with Bellumi kind of doing a little in and out dummy on Ogilvy. And it was a great save from Schmid that stopped it from going from 2-0 down. And
then all of a sudden, Lang got away and had a shot that was well saved by their keeper in the first half. And that's the moment the game changed.
But do you not think we should have had a penalty in that first half as well?
I don't remember a penalty decision in the first half.
Yeah, neither do I. What was it again?
We kind of broke away, and Lang ran down the kind of the left-hand side of the pitch. And he just got clipped from behind by I think it was the right back. But he kind of came across the back of him and clipped the back of his right leg. But it got waved away quite quickly. But we should have at least had that one in the second half for sure. Because he was clearly giving him a tug. So,
well, yeah, that was the issue. So, like, obviously you two already know. At first, I wasn't I wasn't convinced, because when it happened, I was convinced it was a penalty. When you try and watch football with your partner, who is doing her best to try and show some interest and constantly asking questions, the only replay I got was at a worse angle than what we've seen, and it looked like he just fell over.
It's like that. It's like when VAR, when Bruno Fernandes got sent off against Spurs. The first angle or two, it looked horrific. And then you see a third angle where actually you see he slipped and that's why he fouled him. It's like that. The first two angles look like it's a dive. It's only when you see that kind of next angle that you actually see it's a Stonewall penalty because he's been pulled down. And
then you see the main angle that we've all seen, and you quite clearly see the shove on the back and things like that, and it's an absolute Stonewall penalty. But
I get what I don't understand, right? Is I totally get that the referee might be behind. So if you've got Yengi, the ball, then Yengi's in front of the ball, then the defender's behind him, and then maybe another player, and then the ref, right? So he's got 3 or 4 bodies in the way. That side is where the lino is. So how the hell can he not see that? because it's right in front of him, clear as day. There's no one in front of him. He'll be able to see the barge, the pull on the shirt. He can see it. Why can he not give that? If the ref can't see it, that's why they're there.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, I don't know if you notice this with officials, is that unless it's clear cut and obvious, like one won't overrule the other. Like the linesman will always go with the ref or stuff like that. They have to back each other up. That's what they do most of the time. There's been loads of like decisions I've seen this season, obviously when being at Bratton Park, stuff like that as well. Like, and you're like, they're waiting. Like, if you ever watch for throwing, a referee will put his hand to his side and point one way or the other, and then the linesman will just do it as well because they can't be seen to like sort of disagreeing or not like realizing because they don't want that sort of hoo-ha about it.
But it's not disagreeing, is it? If the referee can't see it and he can, that's when he should.
It's one of them moments where you'd like to think they would go, I couldn't see that, what did you see? And then the lino can go, right, okay, I can give it because I've seen it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what you would, because they can talk to each other. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, they bottled it. They bottled it in my eyes. 100% they bottled it.
There's one thing that I will give the ref. I don't think the way Yengi went down helped.
He did make it theatrical,
very dramatically.
But the thing is, this way all the players reacted as well. Like all of our players around it. If they don't think it's a penalty, half of them don't claim. You'll get Yengi maybe get up, but they all went mental, and it was clear as day. And the reaction usually tells you a little bit. So I know players act and they sort of try and cheat and get what they can out of it, but no, for me, and if it's not a penalty, it's got to be a dive, isn't it? Like, because
it's one of them where if you're not going to give the penalty, then you've got to book him for diving.
Yeah, because the referee is like, I mean, you have to have a chat with the referee yourself, but I wouldn't because the referee's getting my tits half the time. But like, if the referee's got to say, oh, there's no contact, or he might just say, oh, there's not enough contact, or it's just a coming together or stuff like that. That's the only thing I can think the referee's got to try to get away with. It's just saying it's a coming together and it was an accident, but it doesn't matter if it's an accident or not. You take down the attacker in the box as a penalty. But there we are.
And this is where I really wish in football you get a referee report and everyone can see it, and you can see why did he give that. It pisses me off that they're protected.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? When they want the referee to come out on Sky Sports after a big game, it's like which I get actually what they say about this. They're like, but we want to hear from us if the game's a good game and we made every decision right, or you just want to hear when we've done it wrong. I understand that situation, but yeah, I'd like to.
I would like a referee report for every single game.
But they won't because they won't. No, well, it won't be public anyway. I don't know whether the club get decisions and stuff like that. I know the club get rung up and get told then they're apologised, like if they make a bad decision. But
you just like to hear their reasoning behind it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd love to know why that referee did not give that pen, and we'll never know.
No,
the club will know because they can read the report, right? But as fans, we're just not privy to that, unfortunately.
No, and that's where they're protected, and it really winds me up. I think I'd have more respect from a ref if they came out every game with a report, with an honest view of, at the time, I couldn't see it, I didn't see it, to me it looked like he dived, to me it looked like that, blah, 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 whatever, and this is the reason why. And you know what? I think most people will go, fair enough. It's a bit like the VAR thing. When you hear them speak it out, people actually go, oh, okay, I can kind of understand it now.
Okay, so shall we wrap up Hull there?
One thing on Hull, I want to say how well Matt Ritchie played.
Yes.
Yeah, I said in the group tonight, I said this looks like this could be him now. Hopefully it's because he's had some game time. He hasn't had enough game time, in my opinion, to get better, but maybe just being around the training ground.
I think he just needed to get fit, didn't he?
Don't forget, he arrived, Messino said he hadn't had a pre-season. So he was going to be like a month or two behind everyone else, and where he hasn't had the most amount of minutes, when he came on in the early games, he didn't look up to it, which is fine. But then he hasn't, as Daz said, he hasn't had the most amount of minutes to be able to build it up until recently, where he's done 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and then now he's clearly fully match fit. Now we're starting to see the effects, and he had actually a nice little segue onto Plymouth. He had another good game against Plymouth, I thought. He was one of the
Yeah. I thought him and Murphy were our two best players.
And again, it was pretty much, that's why we called the episode what it is, because again, I think this was probably just...
I think the only thing with a hold the cutting edge was like, we had what? It was less of it, like the lane chance at the end, which cost me loads of points on our prediction. Like, I thought he was going to bury that. When I came back to it, I thought, here we go, I've got this. Unbelievable save onto the crossbar. But the Plymouth game is literally what you call lacking cutting edge. Like, I've even had people at work who don't even support Pompey who watch the game go, how did you not win by 3 or 4?
It should have been 3 or 4 by half time, right? Because they were playing out from the back. We were waiting for the trigger, which was as soon as that ball went into that, I can't remember his name. It's really bad of me. The deeper midfielder of theirs. They were the centre back to split, and the keeper would pass it into the number 6, and then that's when the press went, and they couldn't find a way out. And fair play to Rooney actually, because he noticed it, and then the second half they basically went long. But every time they passed it forward and they went into that 6, we were there, we were on them, and we won it back. And we went and had a shot, or we created a chance, but there was just no one to put a ball in the net. And it was so frustrating because you're sitting there just going, it's got to come. Because normally when a team is on top like that, it will. But for some reason, with us, it just doesn't.
The amount of quality crosses that Murphy and Ritchie were putting into the box was unbelievable. We've been waiting all season for deliveries like that, and it just didn't happen, did it? Well, we did put the ball in the net, but unfortunately, Paul strolled offside.
Yeah, and again, that was the correct decision, unfortunately. But I think again, Ogilvy seems to obviously he scored against whoever it was. Who was that? Who did we play? Who did he score against? Sheffield Wednesday. That was it. God, that seems a bloody age ago. He scored against Wednesday. He's hit the post previously twice this season already from a corner, and he got again into another good position to shoot, and obviously kind of hit it almost just at the keeper.
And he had a header that the keeper saved in the game.
So although he's struggling in his main job, he is causing issues from corners, which is a good thing.
Which is why I wouldn't mind him being, a centre back. If Farrell comes back before Shotnessy, I wouldn't mind him moving to the middle.
So you prefer him at centre half over McIntyre?
Yeah,
even as a 2, because as a 3, you'd play him as the left centre half, wouldn't you? But
I just don't like McIntyre's defensive work.
Yeah,
and I don't think him and Paul. I think it's one or the other. I think it's Shotnessy and McIntyre, or Paul and Shotnessy. They're too similar.
Well, that's the thing. If you play a 3, you can put McIntyre in the middle, and you take the defensive issues away from him as such. Because it's like, you remember when England played back 3 at the back, and Maguire played in the middle of the 3, because he looked a lot better because he had his defensive issues. He didn't have to deal with.
But recently we kind of played 3 at the back, haven't we? Remember and it killed Murphy.
It's because he's not. So that means you need to play probably Matt Ritchie as left wing back, because he's played there before. But
then that means you don't play Murphy at all.
Well, you can. If you play a 3-4-3, you could. But also, has Ritchie played left wing back about 3 years ago, and has he got the legs to keep running up and down? Probably not.
No.
No, you just want to keep him in that final third. Matt Ritchie now, keeping him in around the final third if you can, and that's where he's going to be most.
For me, once Farrell's back, I want him back in the team.
I think he will be. Daz, I want to.
And also, the thing about Farrell is he's also dangerous in the air, so you're not losing that by dropping Ogilvy.
No, that is true. Daz, I want to come to you about that first half, because it was the best half of football we've played, and it was nice to see the press finally work, but it was also one of the most frustrating halves of football to watch as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought that press we did, and especially in the first half against Plymouth, was more impressive than the one against Hull, because Hull, as I said earlier, they were always going to play out. There was no way they were going to change the way they played, where even though Plymouth struggled, they were still trying to get the ball forward quicker, like where Hull played between the centre-backs and the keeper. Plymouth tried getting the ball quicker into their like full-back or into the holding midfielder, but because we pressed so well, we dominated them, and the press was unbelievable. The energy was really good. I mean, I was quite impressed with Richie, the fact that his energy was that high in the first half, after he played so many minutes against Hull City. So I was really impressed with that. Like, we got ourselves in some great areas. Some of the balls we got put in the box. It felt like it was coming in the first half. It did a little bit, but as Russ said, like about people asking why how we haven't won that game or scored. My brother was watching it and he messaged me going, "How have you not scored yet? You have to score. You need to score." And I said, yeah, exact same thing. I mean, that ball I think Williams played it into the back post, and Murphy just misjudged it. You can allow it a little bit because the defender comes out in front of him, so he's probably taken his eye off the ball. But yeah, I think the biggest chance out of all of them, and I think if he was half a yard quicker, I think it's Matt Ritchie and his header. I think if he's just that little bit, just even half a yard, doesn't even have to be a yard, he can get his head around it and send it back to the
That was a great
where
diving
it
header,
came.
to be
And
fair, to even get on it, to be honest.
oh, but the thing is, anywhere
Yeah.
but there, he scores. Well, even if he puts the ball like a yard to the left and it's not right in the corner, the keeper is probably not getting it because it's so close to him. He headers it down, and obviously you're told as a kid when you head in front of goal, head it down, because obviously it's harder for a keeper to move his feet quickly to sort of put his foot out, and if you can, the ball can bounce before it gets to him as well. It can go anywhere. So yeah, it was. I mean, it was a brilliant first half. I was really happy with it. I think I tweeted saying that as long as we don't come out in the second half and shit the bed, because then it would mean like the first half means nothing. But I don't think we didn't do that even when Rooney changed his
we were
tactics a little
still on
bit.
top. We were still on top.
We're still on top, 100%, yeah. And I couldn't see whether, obviously I know Schmidt pulled off that save, which was unbelievable.
That was a great save,
to be honest. In the second half,
Yeah. Other than that, they did nothing.
But yeah, and it kind of, I don't know if Rooney actually did say it or not, but it sounded like he was playing out for the last few, like it was some kind of game plan. I was like, no, if your game plan is playing shit up until the 82nd minute, then
you
fair
can't
play. But
say that your game plan against your relegation rivals is to sit back and get butt fucked
At home
for
Yeah.
85 minutes and then go, oh, fingers crossed we're still 0-0 and we can go and do what we did.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Well, things I could understand if they defended well, but there's a number of chances. Obviously, that ball in the second half, which Yengi put across with, which Murphy nearly got to, all that sort of stuff. Like, we were opening them up, and that's what, like, when we were saying about the cutting edge, it's not about cutting edges and like getting in those areas. It's cutting edges, just finishing the chances.
And that was I think that was the issue, and I think that could have probably should have been dealt with at half time, because there were so many chances in that first half where Yengi, as that striker, as Russ said, the wingers were the three behind the striker were playing unbelievable. Probably the best. They're starting to build a connection, playing together. Probably the best each individual bar Lang has had this season in a Pompey shirt, and they were combining well. They were getting balls in behind, and the passes were flowing. But Yengi just looked completely off it, and I think that probably cost us in the end.
So what do you think's up with Yengi at the moment? Is it a confidence thing? Was League One his level? Did he just hit a high? And
it could be a whole multitude of things, right? Is he Is he actually match fit? Is he got a niggle but is still playing because we need another striker apart from Omani?
It's just like last season, he scored so many headers and could leap like Ronaldo, and he can't seem to even win a header at the moment.
He was just kind of watching. At points, he was, rather than like closing the keeper down or when the ball was coming in for a cross, he kind of was just kind of like being a bystander. And
Well, there was that bit in the first half.
No, that's right. No,
sorry,
that's right. You go.
Sorry, I didn't realise it. Oh, all I was going to say was that I don't know if you guys noticed it, but in the first half, we were trying to press from the front, and Richie was legged it from where he was and pressed the centre
That
back.
fucking angered the fuck out of me.
I could hear someone screaming and shouting.
They all went mad at Yengi, didn't they?
And it was when I think whoever was doing the co-op, was Guy Whitton do it? I can't remember who was doing it, but they were saying that they're having a go at Yengi because obviously when you're watching it on TV, sometimes you can't see certain things. You can hear stuff, but you can't. When you're there, you can see if someone's having a pop at someone. And I thought if he's doing that in the first half, what's going to happen in the second half? And I think even in the second half, again, Richie was having a pop at Yengi for not doing the hard yards, and I think Yengi stayed on way too long.
I would have done Omani at half time.
Marnie on. I probably wouldn't have done it at half time, but
I would have
definitely
started him.
60th minute, 60th minute, 60th minute or something. Get some fresher legs up there, and I think because you've got to give a player like Marnie, you've got to give him a bit of time as well. He's still young, isn't he? So
I'm still not sure what Mousinho's seen to even drop Omar. Wait, I still can't say his friggin' name.
Omani.
Marnie, innit?
Omani. I don't get Jack Hancock makes a good point. He's not the best winning duels. I get that, but what's Yengi done to win a duel at the moment? And also, as much as he doesn't win duels, I think he's such an intelligent footballer. He wins us so many free kicks. Yeah. He's just. I really rate him highly. I think he's a really good player, and he's the closest thing we got to Bishop.
Well, and that's the key thing, right? Is if that's the only striker we've got that's actually kind of producing anything so far, because Sorensen can't even get in the matchday squad at the minute. Yengi just is either disinterested or I've no idea. And Omani,
I just think it's a change.
He's a 19-year-old kid, right? And he's still adapting. It's his first senior loan in men's football.
Yeah, he's played about 3 or 4 games for Brighton.
So
in men's football, the rest.
So it's his first proper senior men's football, right? He's still adjusting.
Yeah.
So that's when Yengi should be doing better, because when Richie is having a go at him, when you're in the shit like we are now, you see who is the leader on that pitch, who will come out and fight and who will hide. Richie obviously will fight more so because he's a Pompey boy. He's seeing his boyhood club get butt-fucked most weeks, and he actually wants to put in some effort, which is great. But if you're not following what the manager's saying and you're not willing to put the fight in, see you later, because you can't stand there and watch other people do your hard work and press when that's your job. You cannot do that because you won't be in the team any longer. And I don't actually think he'd be in the squad. If we had Bishop around and Omani or whatever, I think that Yengi wouldn't even be in the squad at the minute, because he's just not performing. And we don't know what it is, and we don't particularly want to speculate about it. But whatever it is, it needs to be sorted soon, because we can't be relying on a 19-year-old kid on loan from Brighton to be our most prolific striker.
It just doesn't make any sense with Yengi, because you think about him against the bloody Bolton defender
Santos.
Santos. And he didn't give him a sniff. You know what I mean? Like he made it so hard for him. Where's this Yengi gone? But I even noticed it when he come back after his injury last season and last few games. He just didn't seem to have that same sort of fight up front.
Which I would have expected even more fight, right? Obviously he was behind Bishop, and at points last year when Bishop came back from injury, Yengi was then dropped. He's seen his main striker partner. Unfortunately, he is out for a long time. But as much as he'll be, I'm really sorry, in his head he should be like, I've got to smash this. He's out for a while. I can go and do the business. But he's not.
I just hope a goal changes it.
Yeah, I think he looks like if you look at all that dancing he does, he's probably a very relies on his emotions, where some players will just block everything out and go again. He's relatively new to this sort of standard of football. I mean, even League One, it was a difference, and he did get used to I think it's just the way he started, wasn't it? I think the fact that he came on against Bristol Rovers in that first game of the season last season, scored, and then that's probably helped him. So I'm hoping it is that the fact that he just needs his first goal, and then hopefully he will just push on. I mean, as we said, we don't know what it is. It could, you never know. He might have something going on at home. We don't know. There's so many different reasons why a player isn't playing particularly well. It's when but we have got the sort of information from last season to know what he can do. So I mean, I bet centre backs would hate playing against Yengi. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, and he is
Look
good
at
on
what
the
he did
ball.
last year, right?
He should be a nightmare for centre backs.
He absolutely rinsed Santos against Bolton, and at Peterborough away when he played, he was playing against this England under-21's most promising player, their centre half, that's gone to scum for 10 million, and he sat him down on his arse and scored that goal to basically get us promotion. But unfortunately, that is a bit of he's gone into a shadow, into a bit of hiding. As you say, hopefully he'll come out of it. I'll just quickly, before we move on, because I'm just wary of time, I just want to go through that goal that they then scored. It's so direct. It's part of what they changed at half time. It was their directness. It was a free kick with the Grimshaw took. It's literally Grimshaw gets the assist, which is an absolute joke that a goalkeeper can get an assist for a goal. And we kind of discussed it earlier. It was both centre halves were at fault. McIntyre jumps up and it loops over his head. Paul, again, similar to the goal we conceded at QPR where he got barged down and he just falls over. He did it again.
Yeah,
he's looking for the free.
Surprised how many people think that was a foul.
No, it was basically a carbon copy of the QPR one where he just gets barged down and he probably goes, I'm going to lose this. If I go down, I might get a free kick. But I think both centre-halves were at fault for that. And then, of course, it had to be that little scummer that had to score it. Russ, you called that, didn't you? You called that, Russ?
I called it, yeah.
You did.
I called that. As soon as he come on, I said 1-0 and he'll score.
The thing is, if I know obviously you said Paul might have been aiming for a free kick, but when the ball bounces up, if he goes across there and he goes across the defender, he probably gets a penalty because the referees are just they want to give keepers, defenders, things like that, they'll give a free kick. If he'd have done that quicker and try to go across a defender rather than allowing it to sort of drop and then trying to take a touch, if he does that, he probably gets a free kick there.
He's probably expecting McIntyre to win the header and not fuck it, to be honest.
And this is what my point earlier when I was saying about Paul is having to try and cover up and pretty much do on his own is why he gets a bit of leeway. Don't be wrong. Is the ball over his head at the moment? It worries me. It's like he can't judge a ball in the air anymore. And it never my dad thought it was a free kick. I said to him, if that's a foul, then you might as well end contact in football.
Yeah, I don't think it was a free kick. It's probably the worst goal you can concede.
It was just too easy. There was no
ball straight down the middle. Yeah, just no real fight. It kind of just out of all the game, that obviously I think after they scored, I don't think we did a lot.
That killed us. We kind of just went, oh fuck.
Yeah.
The other thing that killed us though was, I know his reasonings why, but taking Richie off and bringing Silvera on just killed our attack.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Silvera is a very fur coat with no knickers kind of thing. He does a nice little bits and bobs, but he doesn't really have that X factor. And obviously that's why he's with us instead of at Middlesbrough. I guess.
Yeah, the red flag should have been out when they easily let him out on loan as early as they did to
Yeah.
another championship team.
The thing is, I get it that like obviously he might not be good enough to get them into the top 6, but he might be good enough to keep you up. But I just feel like I thought he did well at the start of the season. He just seems to have dropped off, and obviously now that Murphy's in there, if Murphy or whoever on that left will come off, Silvera won't look as good, and Silvera needs. I think he needs to be more direct. I think he feels like he's sort of a bit too scared
I
to
think
go more
he's
direct.
just his quality
He's
isn't as
rapid.
good, but I think it's also confidence as well. I think it's a mixture.
Yeah,
Just before we move on, Alex Crook, that works for TalkSport, obviously he did some radio with Pompey and stuff back in the day. He tweeted after the game, because he was at the game, he tweeted this: how many years did it take to get out of League One? Going back there without ever giving a manager a chance of staying up. When I was a kid, Pompey had some terrible teams, but always held their head above water in the second tier. Surprised fans are so accepting, to be honest. And then under a comment of someone else, a Pompey fan, he put, it's a dereliction of duty from the owners. That's some scathing words, obviously, but is that too harsh? Is that bang on, or?
Well, the thing is, I've not seen him tweet about us for so long, and then I've seen him tweet about us a few times now. No, look, I mean, after Christmas, then you can definitely tell if it is a derelict of duty. Like, so we're going to get into it. Obviously, is who's to blame and that sort of stuff. But yeah, obviously there's some truth in it because we're clearly not doing well, bottom of the league. But is it like as I said to you guys, I don't want that defeatist sort of nothing to play for until it's mathematically impossible. And if we win on Saturday and results go our way, we could be like 2 points off of getting out of it. So yeah, it's partly true, isn't it? But the problem is, like the last 2 games, we've actually played pretty well over most of it. So you kind of feel that, well, if Plymouth hadn't scored that, I know even a draw would have been the best result. But with performances and 2 more points on the board, we could have gone into Preston really confident. I think we still can go pretty confident. We don't have to.
I think there's a lot
Preston.
of positives to take the last 2 games.
Yeah,
I think
I would say I think the system is starting to work with the right players in the right places. I think Potts and Dazelle suit each other. You don't feel like you've got no midfield anymore. I think having Lang, Ritchie, and Murphy has been top notch. I love Schmidt. I think he's quality. I think he's a really good keeper. It's just finding the other bits out. I still think you get that back four mentioned earlier. Maybe get Bishop back, put Mahoney up front, and give him a good, 5-6 games on the trot. Things could start clicking into place. We're not, in my head, we're miles away. But then I look at the table and I think, actually, we're not miles away. Dad's is completely right.
that's it. But now is the time that we need to get points.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
If we don't, then we will be too far when we get to January, right? Because if we get to January and we're 5 points off safety, you think investment, buy some players, whatever we need to do, we've got a chance. If we get there and we're 15 points off or something like that, then you're going to go, well, we might as well prepare for League One. But a team that aren't doing that well and are kind of close to us, 7 points off, 6 points off, are Preston, who obviously we play on Saturday. They haven't won a game in 5, so they're not in the best of form either.
Won an away game since February or something.
Yeah, since March. Oh, welcome Portsmouth Football Club, because Plymouth hadn't kept a clean sheet all season until they played us. They bottled a 3-0 lead at Plymouth because they were 3-0 up, and then they ended up drawing 3-3 a few weeks back as well. So they've got a fair few injuries as well, actually. I had a quick look earlier on, and
somewhere to get a draw with Sunderland, though.
They did. But they've actually got Robbie Brady's out, Patrick Bauer's out, so that's their main centre half. Obviously, Bauer's absolutely massive, talking of big centre halves. Ched Evans and Will Keane are out as well, who are two of their main strikers. So again, it's people that also have injury problems like us, but we need to take advantage of the fact that they can't win away. Their main striker and their main centre-half are out.
They're not sure on Watmore either, are they?
I don't think, no, because talking to my mate who's a Preston fan, he's not been exactly great so far. He's not been in some good form.
Yeah. But he's apparently he came on and felt his groin as well. I read earlier, so that's if he plays as well.
Maybe he'll score if he probably score. do a repeat of that knee slide against Carlisle that he couldn't do.
Greatest knee slide of all time.
That is right. Let's go for predictions then. We'll go for Dazzler first.
I'm going to go 2-0 Pompey.
First.
And I'm going to go Lang goal scorer. I want to get in there first.
He's gone in.
1-0 Richie,
go
top corner. Do I get an extra point if it goes top corner?
No, you don't. Just because you're...
Which corner, though? Which corner?
If hang on, he plays on the left.
So,
all right, he gets an extra 2 points if it goes top left.
If it is literally top bids into that top left, then you can have an extra couple of points.
Thank you.
Yeah,
just because you're crap and you're 6 points off me.
Excuse me,
have a go.
I deserve points for getting 1-0 and fucking Scummer the score.
No, not allowed. It's not on the podcast, so it didn't happen.
Yeah, you can't do it as the game's going either.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's going to be a hard game because
I think this is the one. I think we win.
You hope so, and I do hope so. But it's hard because you kind of look at it and just think, where does the next win come from? But if we perform, they've just come off a positive result, getting a draw to Sunderland. But if we
they're missing all their best players, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but I don't know if they're missing them for them, to be honest. But if we play how we played for the second half of Hull, the game against Plymouth, as long as we decide that we can actually score, I'm gonna. Oh, fuck! What do I do? I think I'm gonna go for a 1-0 Pompey win as well because I just don't think there's going to be much in it. I really don't.
The other worrying thing, attacking wise, is if you look at our last few goals. So you had Murphy's goal, which was fluke, really, wasn't it? Like scuff shot into deflection. Soft, really soft. I know Lang done well to sell it up, but I'm talking about the actual strike. Then Sheffield Wednesday, Ogilvy into an empty net, he couldn't miss. Was it QPR sort of fell about, easy tapping, then a penalty. Like we haven't. It'd be nice just to create a decent chance and bury it. I mean, we've had a good goal since the Oxford goal.
Probably not. But at least we're taking opportunities of other teams making mistakes.
The worry earlier in the season was we weren't even having any shots.
Well, no, we keep making so many mistakes and so many goals we've conceded have been because of us. So it's nice that we're kind of doing that back to other people, to be honest. Right. Harry's Who Am I?
Are we not doing Who's to Blame then?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, I think
so.
We should.
Basically,
because especially after that meeting last night.
Okay.
We sat and read all that stuff, and now we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, sorry. Do you know what? I've missed that.
Well, I can't read, so that took me ages.
Yes. So last night, the Portsmouth Supporters Trust met with John Messino, Rich Hughes, Andy Cullen, and there was a video message from Michael and Eric Eisner. There's just a couple of points we kind of picked out from it, and we'll then move on to kind of who's at fault so far this season and why, and who do we think is mostly to blame. So kind of Michael Eisner's and Eric Eisner's video, they kind of said he started off by saying let me say at the start, we are not going to get relegated, period. So there we go. So we're not going down.
Stupid thing to say.
It is, because people will come back to that when we do, or if we do. That's really negative saying when. If we do get relegated, people are going to clip that up, get it out, tag him in it, and go, "You don't know what you're fucking doing," and all of that. So I don't think it's an ideal thing to say, really.
No, I reckon Messino and Hughes are probably like thinking, "Shit, why did you just say that?"
Because he did it at the Guildhall as well, didn't he? When he promised these things to do with the academy and stuff, and he hasn't done that yet either. So he kind of talked about there's not really any excuses. We struggled in the first 7 games, which was okay-ish because they were at the top of the championship. But and he moved on to say we thought we would prevail. Sorry, one of you carry on. I just need to go and get a drink.
Yeah, it's a bold statement to make from the Eisners. My take on it is the blame part is a bit harsh, in my opinion. I just think it's just a complete lack of experience. I think a complete lack of. I think very naive. The Eisners have come into the championship and just think they can, replicate what we did last season and buying gems and loaning gems and just expecting it to work again. When actually, when you looked at the team, the spine of the team was pretty much the same. Do we think that we should have probably ended up spending more? Probably. Money doesn't always mean success. My issue with the squad, which I know we're going to talk about in the off season, the international break, is it's too much built for tomorrow. Other than what McIntyre's played 100 odd games, Azelle played 100 odd games. Obviously, Richie's definitely got the experience, and Pack. That's around about it.
But this is the issue, right? Because this is kind of what Eric Eisner then talked about. Was he said, we're going to stick with our strategy. Our football strategy has to remain consistent over the long term, which is to recruit younger players, develop them internally for ourselves, and either sell them on or use them to rise in the championship and hopefully get to the Premier League. Using the example of Abu Kamara, he was Norwich's player instead. We helped develop him, and then he's gone on for $4.5 million. That's kind of paraphrasing there. It will take 3 to 5 years to see how the players develop. It's not an overnight thing because players take time to develop, but we're going to stick to our guns and then develop players for ourselves. But
that's okay.
That's totally fine, but it's got to be a mix, right? Because
100%,
you can't just buy a load of kids and expect, with no experience in the league, some of them potentially people like Blair has any experience in men's football alone. You can't expect them to be able to keep you up. You need a balance. Yes, you get 4 or 5 young players like those guys, like Blair and stuff, in through the door, but then you need to balance it out. With someone like Richie, obviously, it's more to do with the fact that he's a Pompey boy. If he wasn't from Pompey or Gosport, he wouldn't have come here. We needed to look at a couple more players with that championship experience to help balance out the team, lead the team, and just settle the team down, because then it would balance out better from experience and youth, and I just don't think we would struggle as much, and that's part of the issue, right? But to come out and say we're going to stick with it, and then
it's not. It's just frustrating that we can all sit. Let's look at our signing just quickly again. I don't want to delve too much into it because it's planned for future episodes. How many of our paid signings? So anyone who's had a fee, or even in the squad, can't be many. Blair don't make the squad. Kamara's on the bench. You know what I mean? And that's what's frustrating. Is it's like, okay, I can totally understand buying young and looking to sell on. 100% fully behind that. But you have to, in my opinion, establish yourself in the league first. And then the nonsense of him talking about, look what we did with Kamara last season. And it's like, what does that prove? Nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, they even say, he went to Norwich, back to Norwich, and then Norwich sold him 4.5 million. And, do you know what I mean? He's not our player. We didn't get any money for him. He was never going to come back here. What are you trying to prove out of that?
Yeah, like the thing is, like, I mean, I love Hughes, and what Hughes did last season and in the January, like, is brilliant, and I think he's done pretty well during the summer. But as you said, the players like, Kamara, Blair, and players like that. I don't know the exact budget. Obviously, I know people saying it's bottom of the league championship budget and that sort of stuff. It was always going to be towards the bottom
Well,
anyway. We're not going to
Andy
be.
Moon gave us it was
But
around 15 million.
yeah, but the thing is, could we have spent, like, this is what I've been thinking about? Like, could Hughes have, like, spent that money a bit better, like, on players that, like, and don't get me wrong, obviously we're not going to buy like top end championship players, and we're going to probably invest in a few players that are hopefully going to make us money in the future, which I haven't got a problem with. I'm a big fan of that sort of stuff. But as I said in our WhatsApp group, you need both. You need the championship quality around these younger players to help them develop, because if they're playing in a team that's getting spanked every week and they're not fulfilling their potential because they haven't got the right environment and players around them, they're not going to get better. They're not going to start to flourish and things like that. So I said Hughes, like last season, all the club and that lot need all the congratulations and praise and stuff like that. But obviously now, I think they do need a bit, like, why is our money? Why is the money being spent that way? Why, because we don't know, because we're not in football recruitment, so we can't see exactly what's going on. But were there any players that the money we spent on Kamara or Blair and things like that could have gone to someone that is probably a bit more championship savvy and who's played more games in the championship in those areas, for like, because we need strength and depth. That's what we need. I just think the club got loads of congratulations last season, and I do think questions do need to be just asked, whether or not we get the right answer or whether they give us the true answer. I don't know, but yeah, I just think because Eisen said something about the loan market, and then Hughes went back on it and said, "Oh no, we are going to invest." To be honest, I couldn't care less if the players we all brought in on January were all loans, but as long as they're all championship quality players that can come in and do a job just to get us through to the summer, where we have to then maybe reevaluate if we can stay up. I haven't got a problem with it being 5 or 6 loans in January. Just stay up. Just do what you need to do. Stay up and reassess it in the summer, and go down a little bit more of a different route. Still get the younger players in to try and make money off, but we know we're going to need better than what we probably have done this summer. Or should have just gone?
But just what was it? Our 4 highest fees were on Schmidt, Kamara, Blair, and Balzat, and 5, and Kamara. Obviously, Balzat, we've got to take him out.
Who's Balzat?
That's his name, isn't it?
Bowat.
He was
Whatever his name is.
He was in Super Mario.
There's no Z in it.
I am so bad with names. Especially
That's why you called me Ben.
Yeah, probably.
Sounds like Harry, though. It does sound like Harry.
It's Barry.
Yeah, Barry. Barry from EastEnders.
So you look at them 5, take Bauer out, and because what's the point? Only one of them is playing, and the other two of them are not even in the squad, and one of them's on the bench. And yet that's where pretty much our budget has gone on. And that's the depressing thing about it for me.
And that doesn't scream like an Abu Kamara kind of player that's going to get better and make us money. And I get what he means. It's not going to be this season. It'll be 3 to 5 years. But I mean, and you do want to plan for the future, but we haven't really got that luxury, really.
But
Like we need to. We haven't got an academy that's pumping out loads of lads and loads of players. So that's fine because we haven't got under 23s for them to develop into and stuff like that. But for us, it's about staying up this season. We're gonna need players that can do it now more than anything.
But that's what's frustrating about what he said. Eric Eisner said, right? Is as I say that because of our poor start in January, we may have to adopt a little bit of a different strategy, relying on loan players. But why? Because you're not going to get top quality championship players, or not necessarily top quality, but established people that we need, championship players that we need. You're not going to get them on loan, are you? Because
No.
a Bristol City, a Preston, or whoever that is just sits in mid-table every year is not going to give us any one of their players on a loan and go, oh, you're struggling. Here you are. You're going to have to go and buy them.
Yeah, but the thing is, the problem is what you got in January. Prices are always overinflated because teams are halfway through the season, so they're not going to give you anyone for on the cheap.
This is the issue the Islanders have got. Coming out saying stupid
Yeah.
things like we're not going to get relegated, period. You
Yeah.
now have to show your true colour. This is probably the first time we'll actually see their true colours. Because they have got to show us, because if they're saying we're not going down, period, whether we're cut adrift or not, they have to now show us in January that they are going to back us and fork money out and buy some players. And obviously, as we've said before, with the amount in the squad, they're going to have to cut some adrift, whether that's paying up their contracts or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like, because I think I said a little while ago, like, to be fair to them in January, we brought in Callum Lang, Moxon, and those players probably got us over the line, really, as a squad, as a total. So let's hope they do the same this January, but they're going to have to spend a lot more
Like
money.
I said to you guys, I think it was yesterday, the issue, the where I say the naivety of them is the gap between League One and the Championship is massive. Where they say in about 3 to 4 seasons you have to spend 100 million just to stay in the league.
But
if we got a 15 mil budget, what's that?
That's reaching 16 million in 4 seasons.
Yeah, and so you're still 40 million off.
Yeah, I don't know whether they've underestimated it or I'm not entirely sure, but something has to change because I totally get we are going to have a small budget. We're not obviously going to have the budget of the likes of Leeds and Sheffield United and stuff. I totally understand that. But to have a budget of 15 million and then spend it the way we have, and as you said, Russ, the players that we've bought Messino is not playing them, whether that's because they're out injured or because they're not ready, which then means they're not good enough. Yes, we've bought for the future, but we should and could have brought a couple of players in, whether they were frees or another fee, but you just bring in a couple of championship players that have had the experience.
Do you think there is a bit of over, like, I'm trying to think of the word, basically, do they think the League One boys would be able to step up?
Well, obviously not, because they got rid of 14 of them.
No, I mean, like, do you think, well, we got Lane, we got Yengi, at the time we had Bishop, obviously things changed, I'm talking when they probably had a meeting at the end of May. We got,
Would you not have thought
you got Paul
those...
coming back, you've got Shocknessy, you've got Ogilvie, like, surely, got Pack, we give him a new contract, surely, they're going to be good enough and we'll build, we buy these, players for the future to fill in the rest of the team, and the only one really out of them for me who stepped up is Lang.
But I think you would have probably said, Paddy Lane, okay, it was one season he's had that's good. but he got 15 goals and assists in that league as a 22-year-old. Is pretty good. In fact, is very good. And the next progressive stage is probably the Championship. He's done it at the top of League One.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
next-
So do you think the reason why they did what they did was because they were expecting the likes of Lane, Pack, Yengi, Ogilvie, Paul, Shotnessy to have stepped up more than they have?
Potentially, but you can expect them to step up, but you need to be prepared for if and when they don't, and they're not
100%.
prepared for that because
I'm just trying to get in their mindset. I'm trying it's easy now for us to say in November.
of course
I'm trying to think of why did they go down this route? Why have we spent most of our money on players who can't even get on the bench? That's the baffling thing.
The thing is, with the players from last season, I think the ones that are contracted, I don't think they had a choice about keeping all these lot and hoping they would do it because, I mean, we brought in 15 players in the summer. So, if we'd have then moved even more of those lads on, I mean, we still got Lowry and Stevenson about. I know they're not registered, but I mean, how many we would have been looking at maybe 20 players plus trying to get in if Ogilvie and
I'm
that
not.
lot. So that's why I think no, but that's why I think that's why they've done it.
Yeah.
And that's why they feel like
what I mean
on with
is
them.
instead of kept the players that they did, but used the budget to buy more Championship experience, they obviously felt these players were good enough that they didn't need to buy as much Championship experience and could rely on buying for the future. And it's just backfired. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is they're thinking. I'm not saying they should have got rid of Lane, they should have got rid of Ogilvie, they should have got now I'd get rid of Ogilvie, but was I I mean back in May I was like, if he stays I don't mind sort of thing, as long as we get another left back. I'm thinking more of why have we got to this situation? Why have we spent so much money on players that can't get in the team? And I just think they were that cert that these players would be able to step up. And as I said, in my honest opinion, only one has truly done that, and that is Lang on a week-to-week basis.
Coming. Sorry,
Yeah,
Daz.
I mean,
I was going to say, coming back to the blame part, just to kind of try and I'll let Daz go after, but just to kind of summarise this part, the blame, I just think it's kind of there's not anyone that is specifically to blame individually, or it's not just on the owners, it's not just on Rich Hughes or the players. It's the whole club, right? They can't be looking at even if you include. We're sat in the Championship, we're fucking bottom. The Pompey women in the Championship are bottom. The academy are playing not in a very, they're not playing other Championship sides. They're playing like League Two academies and are mid-table, so they're not progressing very well either. They have to look at that and think, we're not doing very well this season. Okay, we, as you said, Daz, we accept the highs and we did really well last year. So did the Pompey women. But then we've got to build on that and progress. And currently, it doesn't seem like that. But it's the owners have to take some blame and the flack and take some criticism. Cullen is part of that, has to take flack and criticism. As well as the praise we gave them last year, they have to be able to take that criticism. Rich Hughes and Messino, with some of the players we've brought in, aren't good enough or aren't good enough. And they need to go, okay, we got that wrong. Let's rectify that in January. And also the players. Yes, some of the players aren't good enough. But my God, some of the mistakes we have made this season to concede goals are fucking dreadful. And whether you're up to Championship standard or not, or League One or League Two, those mistakes you should make or are making shouldn't happen at all.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Harry, 100%. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to say in the voice. Yeah, in the voice note earlier, I think it's harsh just to, a lot of people are blaming just the Eisners, or some people are actually flipping on the flip side of blaming Hughes. Do you know what I mean? Whereas for me, I think it's just wrong on all different levels for all different reasons. Hughes has no Championship experience. He doesn't know Championship players. Mousinho has played all his career in the lower divisions. He doesn't know Championship. None of these know him. You know, all right, you could say Mousinho had no experience of management in League One, but he knows the league. He knows the teams. He's played against them, with them. You know what I mean? That these are the type of, you know, when you've got so much inexperience in one level, like Cullen might have done a year or two when MK Dons were in the Championship. I can't remember.
He was at Norwich as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course he was. You know, but I just think the whole thing has just been wrong. They just got it wrong. But to come out and say that we're going to stay up, period, it's just a stupid thing to say.
But it would be better if they did just come out. Maybe it's too early and they don't want to affect it. But if they came out and said, you know what, our strategy is correct and we believe in our strategy, but we need to make some adjustments in January, that would be fine. Because then they could say, okay, I totally get the strategy. But then you say, by saying we need to make adjustments is an acknowledgement of going, we slightly fucked up here. And if they did that, then we could go, do you know what? Okay, let's see what you're made of. But saying we're not going down, period, really doesn't help.
Yeah. And the things that I think, obviously, we were saying that who's to blame thing. The only way we're going to know who's actually to blame is if you're in the room when these conversations are being taken place. I mean, I've seen, like, from some of the quotes that came out last night, I've never seen so many people tweet, well, there you have it. There you have, like, it's like, from one little quote, people are making up their minds about
they
things.
literally have just read a couple lines and that's
it. But this is why I've tried to keep it, kind of explain the whole quote rather than kind of create a clickbait. And I've tried to include the whole quote so you can understand the context of it. Because otherwise, if we just went, Michael Eisner said we're not going to go down, it's like, well, hang on a minute. Or Eric went, we're just going to get loans in January. That's massively clickbaiting and encouraging a pile-on. Whereas I've tried
and then you had someone took a snippet of Hughes saying, you know, we're doing the best we can with the budget we were given, and people have twisted that as if to say, like, well, there you go, even Hughes isn't happy with the budget. I mean, when he never said that.
But that's that. Even if that was a statement of saying we're doing what we can with the budget we have, that you could say that
any budget,
like the director of football at Man United could say that. The statement as a whole isn't out of this world. It's literally like, I mean, any workplace, my workplace budget. Oh yeah, we do what we can with the budget we've got, but that doesn't mean the budget's like 10 quid or 10 million quid. Do you mean it's just that's how you frame it? This is what we're doing with this budget. We're going to get the best out of this budget as we possibly can. That means the budget could be out of this world. It doesn't mean the budget is like 2 quid and stuff like that. And I think people just read too much into it and dive straight in there. I mean, if they had this, if we were sitting mid-table and Hugh said the same thing, I can guarantee people, the reaction would be, he's doing such an amazing job with that budget. But now, because of where we are, the conversation's flipped and the opinions are flipped, and it's like, I told you it's shit. This, that, and the other.
Also,
so,
what do you want him to do? Do you want him to sit there and go, yeah, the budget we got, we just fucking blew the money off. We just blew it away, and we're not happy with what we bought. His players are going to see or hear that, and then they're just going to go, well, is that me? They don't believe in us. We're fucked. Like, what do you want him to stand there and say apart from what he did? The only...
And even if the budget is crap, if the budget is bad and they don't like the budget, they're still not going to mention it because some of that budget pays for their wages, and they're not going to want to get sacked for the next day because they probably love this sort of thing, and they probably think, okay, the budget isn't great, but we can work with it. That's probably the way they're hopefully looking at it.
Well, put it this way, right? So if you actually want to look at blame, the blame is Hughes, and hear me out, because wherever the guy's been given a budget, and as I said before, so let's look at the majority. So we had the 4 we talked about, or 5, but again he's out injured, so we won't count them for the moment. You can't blame that on Hughes. The other big signing is obviously Richie. So out of them 5, until recently, none of them were playing. None of them were in the team. That's on Hughes. And that's not on the Eisners. The Eisners haven't gone out many transfers. The Eisners haven't gone out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Whatever the budget they've been given, they have messed that up, in my opinion. They've taken on the Eisners' ethos of trying to sign for the future. You could even go back a little bit, like, yeah, all right, we brought Lang and Moxon in. Moxon was brought in to not only help us get to the Championship, but be in the. You don't sign a player for the amount we did and give him a 3-year deal, 4-year deal. If you're not then going to plan on using him in the Championship, and he's played what? Combine that couple games of minutes, so you can even add him into the conversation.
Yeah, and now he's coming on now for Pack, like in the last 2 games, which kind of tells you, hopefully, that he might start getting a run of games. But yeah, I totally agree. I think I love Hughes, and he did an amazing job last season. But as I said, you get praise, but when it's not going right, you do have to take a little bit of it on the chin, because in football, it's fucking such a volatile industry. I like to think I'm, as most football fans go, I like to think I'm quite level-headed. But I have been thinking that as well, that maybe Hughes hasn't made the most out of the budget, and that's why I don't think Cullen. I don't know if Cullen takes any blame for that, because surely it's just down to Hughes and his recruitment team to come forward with the players and say, no, these are the players we want. It's up to Cullen to obviously. I don't think he really should be having to do with looking for players and signing players off. It should be Hughes saying, this is who we want, this is why. Cullen saying, if maybe Cullen then has to go to the Eisners if it's a little bit over budget, and then he explains the situation, because Cullen's not obviously he's a football man in the fact he's worked in the industry for so long, but he's not a football on the pitch man. Do you mean? So that's why we've hired Rich Hughes. That's why, is it Brad Walsh? That's why we've
Bradley
hired
Walsh.
Is it Brad Walsh? Who is it?
No, yeah, he's too busy on the chase.
Who
Brad
is it?
Wall.
What's his name? Brad Wall. Right, literally. That was
yeah,
so
but
close.
I'll just picture Bradley Walsh just rocking up.
Right. To be fair, some of the games this season, it does feel like Brad Walsh might have picked some of the players. But yeah, so it's down to them to get the play, put players forward and say, yeah, this is what we want, and then to go forward. So yeah, I think Hughes needs to take a bit of responsibility, but hey, that's you give him a little bit of leeway. We'll have to see what happens in January now.
That's it. I think they'll still have, the team will have the fans back in the whole time, as long as they stick with putting their ass into gear and keeping the performance levels up, not letting their heads drop. Look at us, for God's sake. How many fans keep travelling to these away games when we've won one game this season? They will always have the fan support, and the club will. Okay, you have some sections of the fans that love the Eisners. Myself, I'm kind of getting Mr. Creosote sitting on the fence, but then you have the other guys that are like the coalition who, flew the plane over and who don't like them. You're always going to have people that are opposite ends of the spectrum, or some people in the middle. I think they've done some good, but they also could have done it better. It's kind of.
I think that the total blame would have gone on the Eisners if all of these signings we spoke about all starting. If they all were starting, all were playing week in, week out, and the results were the same, you could go, surely we could have given more money, more of a budget. But when, from the Eisners, if this was me, I'd be thinking, well, I'm just giving you a load of money. You're not even fucking playing him. Why would I give you more money? Well, how else are you going to waste it on? Do you know what I mean? That would be in my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll all come down to January, won't it? We'll see. We need to see where we're at January, and then what they need to go out. They do.
So what we need is the Eisners to give enough money to Hughes and Messinio, and them to make sure they're bringing in players who are ready to start, who can play in that Championship.
Because it's going to be more, as Daz said earlier, the Championship is more expensive in January. The transfers always are. However, making those signings in January at that extra maybe $100,000 per transfer or whatever is better for the club financially in the long run than going back down, if that means securing championship status. So
then just to play devil's advocate, on the flip side, then the risk is going down spending that much money.
yeah, but then there's always also sell-on value, so you can get some money back.
Yeah, if people are willing to buy.
Well, right, shall we move on? Because I'm just wary of the time. We're going nearly an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So let's go to Harry's Who Am I? So, are we ready?
Woo.
Yep.
Clue number 1. The team I made my professional debut for, their nickname is the Candy Stripes.
Candy Stripes?
Yes.
Candy Stripes.
Jesus Christ. Candy Stripes.
I mean,
right, I'm ready to move on.
yeah.
Okay, clue number 2. I made and scored on my European debut. Do you want me to give you the club they scored against?
Okay, yeah.
FC Midtjylland.
Candy Stripes. I'm still stuck on that. So that's red and white, isn't it?
Correct.
Candy Stripes.
Yes.
Who plays in red and white?
So they made their senior debut for a team called the Candy Stripes, or that's their nickname. And they made and scored on their European debut against FC Midtjylland.
You got a good one this week, mate.
Yeah. No, I'm getting
No?
up. Yeah.
Nothing on that one?
No.
Okay. Hang on, I've just closed down. Let me just find it. And the last clue was I signed for Portsmouth for £100,000 with a £20,000 international cap bonus.
Right, hang on. Right, so let's think about this properly. They're called Candy Stripes. So they're obviously red and white striped team.
Yes.
They play in Europe, or have played in
Is it
Europe.
Robert Prozanecki?
Incorrect.
Ooh. Not bad, because you're thinking of Belgrade there, are you?
Yeah.
See, that's not stripes, though.
No,
is
it's
it?
not, but it's red and white, though, isn't
No.
it? Yeah, so
It's a good shout.
red and white? We signed for 100k, did you say?
£100,000. Yes.
Yeah, so Prosley was on a free, wasn't he? Anyway, so he scored on his international debut.
No, he scored on his
one,
European debut.
Can I ask one question?
Okay.
Is this within the last 15 years?
Yes.
Right, okay. So just...
I've got one more clue to give you, but as soon as I say it, it will...
Yeah. Candy Stripes, candies, red and white. Oh, didn't he score on his European debut? Did he play for him? In Europe?
Who's that? Whisper it to me, Ross. I'll tell you.
Well, I'm going to talk out loud. So I'm thinking red and white stripes. The team, red and white stripes, quite often we've signed in the last 15 years. That gives me an Irish feel of Derry. The Derry, don't they play in red and white stripes? I'm just trying to think. We signed a couple from Derry, haven't we?
I'm staying silent. I'm not saying
I
anything.
can't remember who we've signed from them. Who have we signed from them?
Where did what's his face come from? Oh, Ronan Curtis. Where did he come
Was
from?
it Derry?
Is that Derry?
Fuck it. Is it Curtis?
It is Ronan Curtis.
Is it Curtis?
It is.
I didn't think he was
I
from
get half
Derry.
of
I thought he was from the other
No,
one.
we signed him from Derry
I
for
get half of
100,000. He scored on his European debut against Midtjylland. And he is... My last clue I also had was I am the godson of Chris Coleman.
Oh, yeah, then that would have given it away,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, yeah, so
I didn't know that.
I'm trying to think of who the player I was thinking of. That
It's not that
I'm sure.
Owen. Is it Taggart or something? I don't know.
I can't remember his name. That's going to bug me now. I'm going to have to go and look it up.
Right. While you do that, we'll move on to. I think it's just any other business left now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, any other business? Do you have any?
No, the only thing I was going to say was obviously Mark Robins getting the old boot today.
Oh, mate, what are they doing?
Commentary.
Yeah,
it's
it's
mental,
absolutely ridiculous.
I'm sorry, you almost got promoted to the Premier League 2 seasons ago. Last season, you were a toenail away from beating Manchester United, and in my eyes, that should have stood because that's ridiculous. You can't gain an advantage from a fucking toenail. You struggled. You struggled at the beginning of this season, and I do get it. But go 10 games, 11 games in, or what it is, to go and sack a manager that's been there for so long and given you so much, and to just go after 10 games of, if anyone in the Championship or probably in the EFL deserves time for the amount of effort and work they have made for this club and deserves the time, it's Mark Robins. So I think something else has to have happened behind closed doors that we don't know about.
Yeah, well, a lot of the I saw something online because some Coventry fans changed it on the Wikipedia, saying like the owners are, I can't remember what they called them, but they said like owners and that sort of stuff, like basically slating.
Mate, the Coventry fans aren't happy at all.
No, and that tells you
Absolutely.
One of the dads who plays for my son's team is a Coventry fan. I'm quite interested to see what he says on Saturday when I ask him.
Right, so the only other thing I had was just the Pompey Armed Forces Supporters Trust, not the armed supporters. We don't want people with guns running around. The Pompey Armed Forces Supporters Club. Obviously, they work closely with the club and they publish everything to do with. They work together for the Remembrance Day commemoration, which will be this Saturday against Preston. So they've just put a tweet out. We retweeted it on our socials, so feel free to go and check it. I'm not going to read the whole itinerary out, but it just does say just before 5 to 3, the referee will blow the whistle. We'll have the video of the John Jenkins doing the "They Shall Not Grow Old" video. The ref will blow his whistle. We'll have the last post, and we will have 2 minutes silence or a minute silence. So we normally do it very well, but sometimes you're in other grounds and it really annoys me that people think you clap. You don't clap. You just stand there and be quiet for a couple of minutes, wait until the ref blows his whistle again, and then you can clap. And normally, as I said, Pompey fans are pretty decent at it, but it annoys me at other clubs when people start clapping because it's not that kind of... It's not saying goodbye to a player where you do a minute's applause or anything. This is different. So feel free to go and check our socials or find them. They're at Pompey AFSC on X/Twitter. So go and find it and you can read the itinerary they have put out. But thank you in advance to them and the club for the hard work of organising that and getting that all prepared. Do we have anything else, boys, before we finish there?
No, we're good.
Oh, I'd just like to quickly point out, it did make me laugh when the commentator said that the home fans of Plymouth was how they got through that game, and yet I think the only thing they ever sung the whole match was "Fuck off, Pompey."
Yeah, they were dead quiet, weren't they? That was.
They were awful.
Yeah.
But we also discussed before we quickly finish up. Sky were just like bumming Plymouth, weren't they? Obviously, so you had Schumacher and Jamie Mackey in the studio, and then you had Dave Edwards on commentary with Gary Taphouse. So you had 3. Yep. Where's the Pompey ex-player? Or I was expecting to see.
To be
David
fair
Norris
to Schumacher and Mackey, they were very praised us and actually said that we deserved to win.
Oh yeah, but
so I do
give
them
of
that
balance.
credit.
You should have one Plymouth and one Pompey, or even if you had David Norris in there or something like that, who's played for both.
Yeah.
our good mate David.
Yeah.
But it was stupid for him to say, "Oh yeah, the crowd got them through it." As you said, the only thing they chanted was one chant, and that they'd made no noise until they scored. So, jokers.
100%.
Right, lads, shall we finish it there?
Yes, do
Right,
it.
let's hope for a positive result. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you for
Yep.
joining us again.
Cheers, guys.
And have a good week, Daz and Russ and everyone. Thank you.